Stem cells in our body contribute to building and repairing blood vessels. People who have coronary artery disease, the blood vessels in these people are doing not that well. Then researchers have given them 2 cups of. This is what's amazing has been found. Not only got into the bloodstream, but they doubled the number of stem cells circulating in your blood vessels, and they doubled the resiliency of your blood vessels just over the course of a month. You might be amazed to know that 1 cup of a day has been shown to actually reduce cognitive decline and also reduce the depression that comes with cognitive decline. We actually discovered many natural substances in our food that can stimulate stem cells to help do their repair. The source of stem cell activating substances are we discovered early on is that stem cells in our body contribute to building and repairing blood vessels. So that was sort of how I became interested in and quite familiar and actually worked on stem cell research in the lab. We actually discovered many chemical substances that can stimulate stem cells to help do their repair. And so when I began studying food as medicine, one of the things that it was remarkable to discover is that some of the synthetic chemicals that you could order from a research shop could actually stimulate stem cells. But then it was really jaw-dropping to me. In fact, one of the most light bulb going off moments that I had as a food as medicine researcher to discover that natural substances in our food can similarly activate our stem cells and call them into action. And without necessarily putting out a distress call, we can just gently coax our body's own reserve into action to help repair ourselves in a more robust way. So first of all, we're at the beginning of, a new era looking at regenerative foods that can stimulate regeneration. So I don't have like the wrapped gift box to give you of a laundry list of all the foods known to man. We're still doing research on this, but I'll give you some examples because, and when I talk, by the way, Rangan, I really refer to both laboratory, but also to human evidence, which I think is really important. Something we see in the lab is interesting and they can actually raise an idea. But at the end of the day, it's whether or not it works in people that makes all the difference in the world. So I'm going to kind of flip back and forth a little bit, but always emphasize what we know in people. So first of all, you might not be surprised that the source of stem cell activating substances are plant-based foods. Mother Nature's sort of medicine cabinet are fruits and vegetables, nuts and legumes, and healthy oils and seeds, sources of omega-3s. So researchers have been actually mining the same pharmacopoeia, farm with an F, not a PH, looking at what substances are in nature that can stimulate stem cells. So I'll give you an example. We know that there's a natural bioactive, a natural chemical found in plants called ursolic acid. Okay, that's URSOLIC, ursolic acid. It's found in fruit peel, right? The peel of an apple, the peel of a pear, the peel of cranberries, a peel of blueberries, right? These are fruit peels. And most likely, if you have eaten an apple, unless you were a kid and your grandmother peeled the apple for you, you just take an apple and clean it and then just eat the whole thing, right? The peel's got good source of dietary fiber and ursolic acid. Ursolic acid has been shown to stimulate stem cells to come out of the bone marrow and help to stimulate regeneration and to repair blood vessels, for example. Quite amazing. All right. That's an example. There's another substance that has been discovered called beta-D-glucan. Now, this is a soluble fiber, which we know is good for gut health. And it does a lot of other interesting things too that are beneficial for the body. But beta-glucan has been discovered to stimulate stem cells. Now, where do you get beta glucan? You can find them in mushrooms. Both the cap and the stipe, the stem of the mushroom, has beta glucan. In fact, the stem of the mushroom has twice as much beta glucan as the cap of the mushroom. Mm-hmm. So I always tell people, if you're actually preparing food, and you're cooking mushrooms, please don't throw the stems away, because they have a lot of goodness to them. You can utilize them. It's sustainable cooking. Keep all the food parts and use them, and they're good for you. Oats also has beta-glucan. If you're actually having steel cut oats for breakfast, for example, is another source of beta-glucan. And barley. Now, barley has actually been studied with beta-glucan to look at stimulating the stem cells that can regenerate your circulation, that can help to repair and grow new blood vessels where they're needed. And this is exactly in my wheelhouse, to study circulation. So we took this even further to look at the role of other foods that can stimulate stem cells. And one of them is dark chocolate. Dark chocolate has a very particular benefit because, first of all, chocolate is a confection. It's a candy. It's made, it's crafted to be sweet and delicious. And most people like dark chocolate, but it contains a plant-based food ingredient, and that's cacao. Cacao comes from a tropical tree where the seed pod of the cacao is shaped like an American football. It can be bright yellow. It could be brown. If you pick one up, it's kind of heavy. You shake it and you can feel the heavy chestnut-like seeds shaking around. And those seeds are the ones that are dried, fermented, ground into a powder, and used by percent to actually make chocolate. So if you have a 50% cacao chocolate, it's got half of the cacao. If you've got 80%, it's got a lot more, 90%, et cetera. Well, what research has been done shown that 80% or higher cacao puts enough of a natural plant-based bioactive called proanthocyanidin into your bloodstream. So this has been measured. And in the clinic, if you actually give people who have, let's say, coronary artery disease, so they've got narrowing of their blood vessels and stiff, hard blood vessels. All right. So these are not people at their optimal state of health. If you measure their stem cells and then see how many stem cells are floating around their blood, which is not many, and then you were to actually do a simple test called flow-mediated dilation, FMD, to check how resilient their blood vessels are. Basically, it's a blood pressure cuff. You blow it up, you put an ultrasound in the crook of your arm, and then you let the blood pressure cuff deflate quickly. You see what happens to how well your circulation, your blood vessels recover from compression from the cuff. That's a reflection of vascular blood vessel circulatory health. If you do that at baseline to see how well the blood vessels in these people are doing, not that well. Then researchers have given them 2 cups of dark chocolate in the form of hot chocolate. That's it, 2 cups to have a day for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, you take out your blood and measure the stem cells again, and then do that flow-mediated dilation resiliency test again of the blood vessels to see, have they changed? This is what's amazing has been found, that dark chocolate, the proanthocyanidins, not only got into the bloodstream, but they doubled the number of stem cells circulating in your blood vessels, and they doubled the resiliency, improved by twofold the resiliency of your blood vessels just over the course of a month with as little as 2 cups of hot chocolate that's dark. So olive oil is a healthy fat, as they say. It's a plant-based food, comes from plants, the olives, and it contains bioactives, many bioactives. Some of them have been identified. The ones that actually have been best studied, one of them is called hydroxytyrosol. The other one is called oleocanthal. And, for people who are listening, if you're a science geek, you can write all this stuff down, but just know that there are these natural substances that have powerful effects on our body. And for example, hydroxytyrosol and as a molecule, but olive oil as a food substance, all right, has been shown to be protective of our stem cells, meaning when you consume olive oil and you get these polyphenols, the hydroxytyrosol, oleocanthal in our bloodstream circulating around. Look, there's a lot of stuff in our bloodstream that's going on, a lot of exposures that we have. And when you've got hydroxytyrosol from olive oil in the bloodstream along with your stem cells, they sort of act as police escorts to help your stem cells get to where they go in a safer way. They're escorted to where they're needed. They're protected. And so why do they need to be protected? Well, you think about it. There's a lot of oxidative stress that can be in our bodies. Oxidative stress can come from fumes that you breathe, from vaping, from off-gassing from carpets, from artificial flavorings and preservatives that you have in your food, from cleaning materials that you're actually having. All these chemical exposures cause oxidative stress in our blood, which can damage your stem cells. Hydroxytyrosol, again, is one of those natural molecules that has been shown to protect your stem cells against oxidative stress. So literally, it's like a police escort that helps your stem cells get to where it needs to go in sort of a safe and efficient manner. 60,000 miles worth of blood vessels are packed into our adult bodies. That is so extensive that if we were to pull out all the blood vessels and line them up end to end in your body, you'd actually form a line, a thread that would wrap around the earth twice. All right. And these literally are the highways and byways of everything, oxygen we breathe, the nutrients that we eat. They deliver to every single organ in your body. Really, really critical. And in fact, no matter what else you think about in terms of your health, if your blood vessels are healthy, you are at a really great starting point to optimize the rest of your health. But if your blood vessels are unhealthy, you're going to be far behind. In fact, it'll be impossible to optimize your health in any other part of your body. And this is true when you're a child. This is true when you're a young adult. This is especially true as we get older, like 40 and above. We need to start paying super attention to how well our blood vessels are functioning. Now, the good news, and what people don't get right sometimes, is that we think about our blood vessels as passive and like plumbing, and then they get clogged, they get narrowed with lipids or plaque or atherosclerosis, and this is what ultimately leads to a heart attack or a stroke, or for, leg dysfunctions when you've got clogged arteries in your legs. My arteries are hard. You hear this all the time. Well, our blood vessels are anything but static. It's not just piping under your sink that if you keep pouring grease down the sink, it's going to clog up your sink, and then you got to call the plumber in to open it up with a wire. Nope, it's not like that at all. Our blood vessels are incredibly dynamic. And what that means is our body manages to maintain our blood vessels to try to keep them optimized all the time. Now, something that keeps our blood vessels healthy and dynamic is the inner lining of the blood vessels. Our blood vessels have a sleeve in it. It's like a layer of plastic wrap that is extraordinarily slippery. We call it the endothelial layer. If you think about like a garden hose, and you're to cut the garden hose in half and look down the middle of the hose, you're looking down into the hole. And if you were to actually take plastic wrap, the kind you would have in your kitchen, and coat the inside of the garden hose with the plastic wrap, so that when water is running through, that the water is slipping through, sliding through the plastic wrap. Now imagine in your blood vessels that same kind of wrap made out of living tissue called vascular cells, blood vessel cells. It's extraordinarily slippery. So slippery that I give the analogy of like an ice skating rink. If you've ever been a kid, gone ice skating, I don't know, many adults don't ice skate anymore, but if you're a kid, you might have had that experience. You know that when you get out on the ice and on the skating rink, it's really, really slippery. It's hard to actually keep your balance. All right. And that's what the blood vessels need to be, so that all the blood cells that are winging through our body, they don't stick to the walls at all. They just keep on going. Like there's like traffic direction. This way to your liver, this way to your eyes, this way to your brain. Okay. Now, you also know that if you're and by the way, if you've ever been ice skating, you know that after the ice is cleaned, there's a machine that will polish the ice between sessions in the ice skating rink. It's called a Zamboni. a machine. They drive over it. It heats the ice. There's a little brush underneath it that kind of polishes the ice. When the ice is new and newly polished, you could take a sweater because it's a little cold in the ice skating rink, and you can throw it on the ice, and the thing will glide. Your sweater will glide. It's so slippery all the way across the rink to the other end. Now, after you have 100 people skating on the ice for a session, or after a hockey game, where the players are really scuffing up the ice big time. All right. When you come off the ice, if you were to throw that sweater on it again, it won't slide. It'll just stick right to the ice. It'll just stay right there. So we just like the ice skating rink, you want your blood vessels to be really, really polished and smooth flowing. And if you don't treat your blood vessels properly, and there's lots of things that can damage our blood vessels, high amounts of salt, high amounts of sugar, high amounts of unhealthy saturated fats, scrape up the lining of our blood vessels. That's like, that's the difference between being able to have the sweater glide all the way to the end of the rink versus having the sweater stick to the ice. Now, when you have blood cells sticking to the ice, that's not good when that ice is inside your circulation, because that stickiness can actually start to build up layers and layers and layers. And that's really how blood vessels get narrow. So one of the things your body tries to do is to use those stem cells we talked about earlier and to try to repair those areas of the ice where like a piece might have come off and smooth it out again. So we can actually restore that healthy layer. It's very amazingly dynamic. And when we need more blood vessels, our body can naturally grow them where they need to be grown, and then stop it when there's adequate blood vessels. And if there's too many blood vessels growing, our body can also trim the extra blood vessels so we don't have too many. It's like a landscaper that's looking at a golf course and maintaining a perfect golf course. Hey, there's a couple of patches that need some more grass. They'll actually put the seed in there and grow it right up so it looks perfect. And if if the grass grows too high, it'll just mow the lawn. So you wind up having just the right amount at all times. Not too few, not too many, just the perfect amount. That's how our blood vessels are maintained. That process is called angiogenesis. That's how blood vessels grow and stay healthy. My current research, the area that I am working on, my books are all about the research I'm doing. I'm not reaching for topics to cover. I'm writing about what I'm researching. And right now I'm researching about aging, healthy aging, including longevity. And I'm researching brain health and all the things connected to brain health. And one of the reasons that to answer to somebody who's asking the questions that you just stated, I would say, listen, if you are doing pretty well now, keep it up. All right. But what the exciting research is showing is that if you push a little bit harder and try to buff up some of those areas, even by a little bit, you could actually be doing yourself a service to improve your brain health as you get older in remarkable ways. Like, for example, here's one. I'm eating plenty of fruits and vegetables. I'm fine. Well, you know what? You might be amazed to know that strawberries, even one cup of ripe strawberries a day, all right, has been shown to actually reduce cognitive decline in human clinical studies, and also reduce the depression that comes with cognitive decline. What's in a strawberry? You got ellagic acid and anthocyanins. These are natural molecules that we're discovering. And so we're discovering the benefits to brain health of ripe strawberries. So, maybe you're eating healthy, but maybe the next time you go by a market and you just are walking by those strawberries, you might want to do a double take and go back and say, I'm going to try some of those now. And so these little tiny extra tweaks, if you're somebody who's already healthy, think about what you're doing. If you feel pretty good now, great. Now it's time to actually level up, to actually see if you can do something to make yourself even better in the future. And so I think thinking about our what we do now having an impact in the future is kind of like saying, rather than put all my money under my mattress, which is sort of a depression era thing, why don't we invest our money in some good things? I mean, you're going to have the money anyway, but where are you going to put it? Under your mattress, or you're going to invest it in something that's going to grow? And I think that making healthy food choices are a way of growing our health. And this is where my research is now. By growing your health you're really investing and you're becoming wealthier inside out in terms of brain health, which is a huge dividend for you. I mean, think about it. The thing that all this discussion about longevity and mitochondria and glucose spiking and, and trying to get your sirtuins and, like all the millions of things that people are talking about now. I have one thing to say to that. Who wants to live longer if you're not able to have good brain health? You could live to 150, 200, go for it. But if your brain isn't working, it's not worth living for. And so that's why I think that in this, accompanying this quest to live long, we want to live well. And the choices that you're making now, the research is finding remarkably that we can actually improve our future us as well in ways that are profoundly important. Our vision, our brain, our muscle strength, our ability to enjoy life. You mentioned the word passion. We want to actually really enjoy every year that we get. Yeah. And I think that the good choices, those tiny little tweaks we make, they can make a big difference. Great topic of discussion. I'm very passionate about this idea of not overeating, not over consuming. Okay. Cause we're talking about, how we have gotten further and further away from traditions and rituals and mindfulness. Overconsumption is a relatively recent phenomenon. I say within the last 70, 80 years, within the last 100 years for sure, of modern society, because if you go further back than that, most people were still scrabbling around to actually get enough food. They were hungry most of the time. All right. It's only really in our modern day and age and, sort of post World War II where, relative prosperity, especially in modern countries, developed countries, actually allowed us to essentially overconsume food on a regular basis. And so I want to talk about metabolism for a moment because this is actually where this squares away with healthy eating and overeating. Okay, so I want people to think about metabolism, which has to do with weight gain, which has to do with obesity, which has to do with diabetes and metabolic diseases and other chronic diseases ranging from cardiovascular disease to cancer to dementia. So it's all connected together. Our metabolic health is maintained by our body like a machine. And in fact, it's like our metabolism is like the operating system on your computer, like on your laptop. And, there's all these myths about metabolism. And one of the myths is that our metabolism is just the roll of the dice. We get it from our parents. We're born with whatever metabolism we're born with. And that's actually not correct. How many people have heard, oh, my sister was so lucky. She was born with a fast metabolism. She's skinny as a stick and she can eat anything. Me, I've actually was born with a slow metabolism. I've had to fight with food my whole life and I've had trouble with my weight. That's not me, but I'm saying what I hear people saying. And it's just the luck of the draw. So therefore they give up and they say, this is my fate. Wasn't my fault. I was born. I drew the short end of the stick. No, it's not true. If we are born and our kidneys work the same and our eyesight works the same and our nerves work the same, what makes you think that metabolism in the human body is a crapshoot and it's ramshackle and just a game of chance, who gets a fast or slow metabolism? No. Our metabolism is an operating system, the same as in your laptop. And, Rangan, if you went to buy the same model of laptop I have, we bought them from the same store at the same time. You and where you live and me where I live, and we plug it in, charge it up, and then hit the button at the same time, boot it up. The operating system of your laptop where you live and where I live, it's going to be exactly the same out of the box. So the human metabolism is hardwired in our body to operate exactly the same way. And I'm telling you this because it's very important to think about the consequences of abusing our metabolism over a period of time. All right. And when you abuse your metabolism, you can actually slow it down. You can actually cause problems with your metabolism. You can derail your metabolism, and overconsumption of calories is one of the things that you can do to abuse your metabolism. Hey, if you like that video, then you're going to love this one. Check it out.